But let me go into first what is happening in California. The fires are still burning, and good for them. Good for them. Meanwhile, we have Newsom talking about his Marshall Plan to rebuild Los Angeles. And let's go to cut 3 there, please.
Over the course of the next several years, Los Angeles will be host to the World Cup and then the Super Bowl and then the Olympics. With this rebuilding effort needing to take place, is LA going to be ready for all of those global events?
All that opportunity and that pride and spirit that comes from not just hosting those 3 iconic games and venues, but also the opportunity, I think, to rebuild at the same time. And that's why we're already organizing a Marshall Plan. We already have a team looking and reimagining LA 2.0, and we're making sure everyone's included, not just the folks on the coast, people here that were ravaged by this disaster.
You just said you're organizing a Marshall Plan for the rebuilding of California. What is that Marshall Plan?
For
Tell
this
us about this
region,
Marshall
we're just
Plan.
starting to lay out. I mean, we're still fighting these fires. So we're already talking to city leaders. We're already talking to civic leaders. We're already talking to business leaders and nonprofits. We're talking to labor leaders. We're starting to organize how we can put together a collection of individuals on philanthropy for recovery, how we can organize the region, how we can make sure that we are seeking federal assistance for the Olympics more broadly, but also federal assistance for the recovery efforts, and how we can galvanize the community.
Okay, so I'm glad he's talking about the future. This brings us to Mike Johnson, something that I haven't talked about, had a chance to talk about yet. He wants to put some restrictions. His aid proposal for California is that he's trying to put conditions on the aid sent to California. And people are saying, that's insane. You don't do that. Where is your compassion? I want to talk to you about how compassion is sometimes difficult. Compassion, true compassion, is sometimes the hardest thing to muster because you want to give until you can't give anymore. You want to help. You want to be there. But you have an alcoholic in California. California is the political system is an alcoholic, and it is destroying the entire state. And you don't say when an alcoholic is suddenly, in the hospital or, really, really down and, out on the streets, you know what? I'm going to give you all the money you need to get back into your house. Because the alcoholic will spend that and just end up in the same place, if not worse. Sometimes you have to have tough love. You know this with your family. Any kind of aid that goes to California, I think it is only responsible to aid the people as quickly as possible. Aid the homeowners as quickly as possible. Help them make sure that they have a place to go. Make sure that they, like the government wasn't doing in North Carolina, making sure that they have hotel rooms for as long as they need them within reason. Now, within reason, many of these people are wildly wealthy. Some are very poor. There needs to be some understanding that the wildly wealthy, we're not going to put you up at the Beverly Hills Hotel. That's just the way it is. Sorry. But we're going to help the people. But when it comes to the state, if they cannot admit that this is not climate change, that this happened because of their policies, if they cannot admit that, they shouldn't get a dime. I'm a taxpayer. I want to help California, just like I want to help all the other states when they have a problem that they cannot handle, that is too big for their state. But they took all of their resources. And honestly, you could make the case. I'm not, but you could make the case this was intentional sabotage. Now, I want to tell you about the threefold problem in California as I see it. There are 3 things that are happening in California. One, the Santa Ana winds, low humidity, and uncleared brush always causes fires. Always. They are known to cause fires. They have been known throughout history. Do you know why the great redwoods and the sequoias have grown for 1,000 years? You know how those trees got so big? They're in California. How is that possible? How have they not been wiped out by fire? We've got to protect the sequoias. Do we? You know that the sap in sequoias is fire retardant? That's why they can grow for 1,000 years. God gave them, God knew there'd be fires in California. Those trees have fire retardant as part of their life's blood. That's why they haven't burned down over and over and over again. Normal trees don't have that. That's why fires burn all the time. And if you don't have regular maintenance on your forests and on your property, you are going to have a brush fire. And a brush fire turns into a forest fire. And if you add 75 to 100 mile an hour winds, you could burn down the entire state. Except it seems for the sequoias and the redwoods. What this government of California has done has stopped people in the name of the good of the forest and the good of the land, is to deny science. They have been denying science for decades. They have been playing God for over a century. They want to tell you that a woman can be a man and a man can be a woman and a man can have a baby. That's not true. That's denying science. To say that we can prevent the forest fires is a lie. That is as arrogant as saying we can change the weather. Now, don't think our government and governments all over the world aren't trying to change the weather, but let me ask you honestly, how do you think that's going to work out in the end? How do you think cloud seeding and putting gases and different things up into the atmosphere or giant shades in space to block the sun, how do you think that's going to work out in the end? Well, or will it end the same way our arrogance always ends? There are things that we can do to mitigate natural occurrences. For instance, if you were, let's say you got on December 2nd, can we get that weather warning up from the National Weather Service? It's January 2nd, next Tuesday through Thursday, January 7th through the 9th, a chance of moderate to strong Santa Ana winds. This is from the National Weather Service. Ready, set, go. readyforwildfire.org. Impacts. Extreme fire growth behavior possible if a fire starts and power outages. Use extra caution with potential fire sources. Now, this was added the week before the fires. Now, that's the National Weather Service giving a warning to the people of California. You can bet that government agency let other government agencies know at the same time. It just didn't go out to your house. It went out to everybody's house. It went to the firehouses. It went to the governor's house. It went to the mayor's house. They knew in advance. So let me ask you, in a non-progressive state, what would somebody like Ron DeSantis do? What do we do for hurricanes? Hurricanes are like fires in California. You know you're going to have them every single year. Am I wrong? Okay. If you have them and you get a warning, one is potentially coming that could be record-setting, what do? Well, I'll tell you what a non-progressive state like Florida, with a governor who is embracing reality, what he does is he pre-positions all of the utility trucks. He pre-positions all of the life-saving trucks. He makes sure that we have plenty of chainsaws. He makes sure that the state is ready and literally waiting. So what should Gavin Newsom have done when he got that warning, 100-year warning of a fire? He should have said, make sure all the reservoirs are full. Make sure that we have all of the fire trucks positioned. Put them in the high-risk areas. Just let them sit there. Have the firemen sit there in really dangerous areas. Make sure that if you see a fire or smoke, that thing is out right away. You can't get up these hills with fire equipment quickly. If you've ever been to California, it's honestly like navigating the Appalachia. It's like going to North Carolina. Why were so many people trapped? Because it's impossible to navigate those hills and those mountains quickly. The same thing in California. Did they do that? No. Did they make sure that they had things in advance? No. What is the one given if you're living in California? What is the one thing that you know is going to happen in California besides political insanity? You know there's a chance of an earthquake. So what do? You build your building stronger, right? You know that there's a chance of a mudslide. So what do? You make sure that you have your foundations deep. But then you also, when you buy it, know I'm gambling here. My house could slide down the side of this mountain. You're charged extra for insurance. But the one thing you know is going to happen every year is fire. Why wouldn't California be the number one fire ready and resistant area in the United States? Okay. So I think there are three things happening in California, and that's why we're having this conversation today, and we're having to make tough decisions. One, fires are natural, especially in California. They're going to happen due to global warming or not. When you have out-of-control homeless problems, your risk of fire increases. Why? Because people who take meth, one of the side effects is you like to see things burn. Also, you have homeless people who start fires, maybe to stay warm, maybe just to eat. But when you have huge homeless problems, your risk of fire goes up. You also have the Santa Ana winds and the natural history of California. They were unprepared. That's number two. Number one is it's going to happen. Any moron could see this happen. This wasn't 9/11 where, wow, we never thought planes could fly into the buildings. This is a wildfire in California. It happens every year, just like the sun comes up every morning. Two, they were not prepared. They knew it was going to happen. They were not prepared. Okay. Next thing. Their incompetence is borderline criminal. What they've done, not just in their incompetence, but by shifting funds away from fires, away from preparedness for something you knew that was going to happen to, I don't know, give more job opportunities for, equal opportunity for lesbian lizard cults. By doing that and taking money away from the state, I'm sorry, that's not just incompetence, that's borderline criminal. And three, you have people who are now just joining in. What a surprise. It looks as though you have foreigners here illegally on our streets setting fires. Who could have seen that one coming? That's what's happening in California. It's natural. It happens every year. They didn't prepare. They went the opposite direction. You have people joining in to help. I believe this fire started naturally, and then it's been helped by forces that I don't understand yet. I don't know if this was a plot or just, lone wolves setting fires. But also nature helped by Santa Ana winds, which we understand. And the incompetence. Why would we give California a dime without restrictions? I'm not talking about the people who are suffering right now and have no money and no place to go. I'm talking about rebuilding in California. Every dollar should have restrictions on it to the government of California, because I'm not paying for this twice. I'm not doing it. They need to learn their lesson, not the people in government.